It's a really exciting day at Tedco, and we are happy to be able to share it with you. So we appreciate your time. Welcome to our first virtual press conference. A couple of housekeeping items. After our brief remarks, we'll open it up for Q&A. And so if you have a question, you can click the raise hand button and your line will be unmuted and you can ask your question then. And then also we just want to make sure everyone knows that we are recording this press conference. Okay. So first I have the honor and privilege of introducing Secretary Schultz. We really appreciate her being here today. She's been an invaluable member of the Tedco board, and more than that, she and her team at Commerce have been incredible partners with Tedco, working towards our common aim of growing businesses here in Maryland. So Secretary Schultz, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I very much appreciate this and the great progress that we seem to have been making over a period of time. And so, yes, I am Kelly Schultz. I'm the Secretary of Maryland's Department of Commerce and a proud Tedco board member. I'm very pleased to be here, even remotely, to help kick off this new chapter in the story of Tedco. This organization is one of the most important partners in Commerce's efforts to support and promote economic development in Maryland. Your work helps make Maryland an attractive place to launch or bring a cutting-edge, innovative company. Even though Commerce's focus in recent months has been less on attracting new companies and more on sustaining Maryland's business community through the COVID-19 pandemic, we have not lost sight of all of those things that set Maryland apart from other states. These include our incredibly talented workforce, our research universities, our federal labs, and military installations. In short, Maryland is in the business of innovation. In fact, throughout the remainder of 2020, Commerce will be highlighting our cutting-edge businesses and entrepreneurs. This will be a way for us to showcase and promote the most innovative startup companies from around Maryland, whether they've developed from a military installation, a federal lab, a university incubator, or from the minds of inspired entrepreneurs working in the basements or garages. We'll be announcing more about this soon, but I wanted everyone to keep that in mind. It'll be a chance to support all that Maryland has worked so hard in these areas. And I'm thrilled about the announcement today, and I'm looking forward to many more years of productivity between the department and Tedco. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary Schultz. And now I really want to express on behalf of the entire board, deep gratitude and thanks to General Linda Singh, who has partnered with us and led us here at Tedco over the last many months during this transition period. Her strong leadership has enabled the organization to move forward and progress with the support of a very strong team at Tedco, not only during a transition period when sometimes it's hard to get momentum, but during a pandemic and a time of great unrest in our country. And so I am personally grateful for the opportunity to work side by side with Linda, as is the rest of the board. And we look forward to continuing to work with her in different capacities in the years to come. Linda, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Myra. And I really want to say thank you to you and the board and to Kelly, but more importantly, to talk about, coming in, the task was very clear, and what the board had asked me to do was to really set the foundation for the incoming CEO. And I think that, we really have done that. And I am so proud of what the team has been able to accomplish in the environment that we're in. They did not slow up, not 1 minute. I mean, we went to remote work environment, and they continue to work on behalf of the entrepreneurs here in the state of Maryland. And I want to say, just thanks to the team. And I know that I was asking a lot of you in a very short period, but now we're getting to see all the fruits of our labor in terms of preparing for this transition to the new CEO now come really to light. And I want to welcome Troy because, when I sit there and think about what the board has done in selecting an individual, I couldn't have selected a better person for this. And I want, the board and Myra to know that You did an amazing job, and I can't wait to see where this team goes over the next few years, because I think they're going to soar, and I think it's going to be a completely different environment. So I want to thank you for the opportunity. And Troy, you know, you can always call me, and my best to you and the overall team.
Thank you so much, Linda. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. It is my great honor and privilege on behalf of the entire board of Tedco to introduce you to our next Executive Director and CEO, Troy Lamell Stovall. There's a lot to be said about Troy. He has an amazing background. He's an engineer by training, a master's in computer science from Stanford, MBA from Harvard. He's not a slacker. He spent time at McKinsey. He has co-founded and ran an investment firm that focused both on return and on economic development. He spent a lot of time in leadership in educational institutions, most recently at the University of the District of Columbia, but also at Howard University and at Jackson University. And those are just a few of the things in his resume. So he has an impressive resume. The things that really led us unanimously to determine that he's the right next leader for Tedco are the things you don't find on a resume. He is an inspiring leader. He is a person of integrity and character. He's someone who rolls his sleeves up to figure out hard problems. And we heard this over and over again from people who have worked with him and for him in all kinds of capacities. And we got to experience it some ourselves as we talked with him about the many opportunities that face Tedco in the future. So I am deeply, deeply proud and privileged to introduce to you Tedco's next Executive Director and CEO, Troy Lamell Stovall.
Thank you for that, Myra, and it's always humbling to be able to hear the words about your life and how people see you and the reflection that you've left on people. So again, thank you. So my name is Troy Lamell Stovall. I am, first of all, a man of faith. I am a husband, a father, a son, a brother, a cousin, and an uncle. I currently serve as the Chief Operating Officer at the, as we like to say, the University of the District of Columbia. And as Myra has and Linda said, I am the CEO and Executive Director designate come September 7th for Maryland's Technology Development Corporation, better known as Tedco. And I am very honored to be that. Allow me, before I say a few remarks, to say a couple of thanks and acknowledgements. First of all, as I said, I'm a man of faith, so I want to thank my God for allowing me to give me the skills and the capability and the strength to get to this point. My wife, Sonia, who is just my rock and my ability, and she counseled me through this process, and my two kids. My wife and I are both engineers, but we named our children after people after the Harlem Renaissance, the Zora and Langston, and they are my heart, and they drive me in what I do. And a lot of what we're going to talk about and do for the state of Maryland is so that we have a better tomorrow for all of our children. Myra, I just have to thank you and your team and the board for your leadership and trust and faith in me. I want to acknowledge, I haven't had a chance to meet the folks with the Venture Fund and the Stem Cell and the Innovation Initiative. I look forward to working with those groups of individuals as well. Secretary Kelly, thank you for your support thus far, and I look forward to our conversations and our relationship building in the future. And across the state of Maryland, all those who may be hearing this or listen to this or hear it eventually, from the governor's office and to the legislatures to the county executive and all those other agencies, I look forward to spending time with you. Even in this era of COVID, there'll be an opportunity for us to connect and build a relationship. I had a chance this morning to meet the staff very briefly for a time, and I'm looking forward to that time as with them as we begin to build an organization that reflects the innovation that we want to have, that we want to invest in. Tedco itself should be a model as an organization of innovation and change, and so we want to model that in what we do. Linda, I can't say enough about you. I don't know which title to use, if it's doctor or major general, or I don't know all those titles you got, but thank you for all you've done for me in these last few weeks, and I know in the weeks to come, and I know in the months to come. I appreciate you. And lastly, I have to acknowledge and thank my friends at the University of the District of Columbia. I just told them that I was leaving, but I also have to thank my boss, Ron Mason. I've been working with him for 20 years at 3 different institutions of higher learning. And so this was a bittersweet time for me to have that conversation with him. But he is very supportive of what I'm doing. So here we are. We're here in the middle of a global public health pandemic, which has created economic uncertainties and also has, in particular in this country, has highlighted the disparities around race and socioeconomics, which were always there, but because of this and obviously other events, has exposed the realities of privilege and the lack of access. And the words equality and equity are now being used in a fundamentally different way. And so how do we bring those into focus and understand that there's been a lack of some of the equality and equity for many? And that's not always about race, it's also about socioeconomic differences. But I think in all of that, we're in this era of unknowns, and we're in this era where it's tough to figure out what it is we should be doing because we just don't know. But I think even in that unknowns, we have to have this thing called hope. And I'm really stuck on that, because if we can't have hope, then my Zora and my Langston and all the other kids, then what's the point? We've got to have hope, and hope is an interesting word. And I think hope and innovation are foundationally intertwined with one another. They both have some foundational elements about them. And actually, I believe that one cannot exist without the other. You need innovation to have hope, and hope and innovation is based off of hope. And as Myra pointed out, and as you'll see from my background, I'm an engineer by training, who went to the dark side and got his MBA and the like. But I love the study of words. I love the study of words, the study of etymology. And as you see from my background, I'm in a university environment, so allow me to be a little professorial for a moment and talk about the word hope for just a second, because I think it's important to the vision and mission of Tedco. And I'm stealing a little bit from a gentleman by the name of David Tegnefeld from Myanmar College, who talks about the basis of the word hope is an Indo-European basis of the word hope. And it means to bend or to curve. And so it means going in a different direction. That's what the Indo-European version of hope means. But if you look at the Greek and the Hebrew part of hope, it meant to have a strong and confident expectation. So it's not wishful thinking, it's having a confidence. So if you put all that together, what you come up with is there is this confident expectation that change is going to happen. Well, isn't that what Tedco should be about? That there's going to be this confident expectation of change, and that drives from innovation. And so we want to move in Tedco to create the systems and the infrastructure and the capital access and the desirability to change and innovate so that people, individuals, and ideas can finally become successful here in Maryland. And we want to create that bend. Tedco should be that bend, should be that curve that allows people to have that access and allows that innovation. And we have to be that catalyst. And I'm challenging my colleagues there at Tedco and the board and all the stem cell and innovation and the NVIA to be that catalyst for that bending, because we have to do that. And as I close, I need you all to understand that at my heart, I'm a servant leader. And I'm driven by my mom's version of the golden rule. And my mom's deceased, and my mom told my sister and I that we were put on this earth for one reason and one reason only. And that one reason is to make a difference in one person's life. The challenge is you don't know who that one person is or when they're going to come into your life. So therefore, you have to make a difference in everyone's life you touch. And that's what the bending and the curve that we got to do. And so I'm excited about the future of this innovation engine we want to create. I'm excited about how we move from economic development to economic empowerment for all the citizens of the state of Maryland. And we all allow that bending to take place. And I really will close with one of my favorite poems, and that's the poem If, because I think it speaks to everything that we've talked about here. And it's by a poem by Rudyard Kipling, and it goes, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs, but blame it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, if you can lie or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, here's my perfect part. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth is spoken, twisted by knaves and make a trap for fools, or watch the things you've given your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. I'm gonna skip a verse. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill forgiving men with 60 seconds of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and that's where I'll make a change. And which is more, you'll be a dream maker and a hope maker, my sons and daughters of Maryland. I stand ready to serve the citizens of Maryland. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Troy. We're opening it up for questions. So again, you can click the button to raise your hand. And the team here will unmute you.
Hi, Troy. Stephen Babcock with Technically Baltimore. How you doing today?
Outstanding. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, just question more in general terms, I guess. Why, with this position, what made this appealing coming to an organization that's doing investment, early stage tech development, coming from, a university setting where you had the administrator role?
Yeah. No, thanks, Stephen, for that question. So I don't know if you've seen my full background, but this is kind of a combination of all the things that I've done in my career, Stephen. I have actually run a family investment office. We had a venture capital piece to it, had a venture capital and a venture philanthropy segment piece to it. I've had my own kind of investment firm myself. I've started my own company, and I've actually helped start other companies. I've been involved with kind of economic development, economic empowerment efforts over the course of my career. I've been a consultant and advisor, both at McKinsey and through my own firm and another firm. And as you just pointed out, I've been an executive in higher ed for the last several years. And so I think all those things together give me, I think, some insight and some skills and frankly, some passion, the passion piece to want to come do this here at Tedco.
Thanks.
Thank you. All righty. Oh, there's one.
Go ahead, Morgan.
Thanks. Sorry if you guys can hear ambulance in the background. I just had a quick question. I know, especially in the last few years or so, Tedco has run into some difficulties and controversies, especially at the legislative level. There's been reform bills, things like that. How do you plan at this point to kind of leave all of that behind and really move the organization forward? And you also talked about, the difficulties of socioeconomic inequalities. How do you plan to make that a part of your plan for moving the organization forward?
Yeah, thanks, Morgan. I appreciate that. Now, look, I think, I can't speak to the history. I've been made aware of the history, and I'm aware of the history. And I think, what Myra and I have spoken a lot about with the board is how do we reset a number of those relationships in Annapolis. And, looking at my plan, once I start in September, a lot of my time will be in Annapolis. I think Myra's already done a really good job, as has Linda, kind of redeveloping and rebuilding those relationships. And so I'm going to be very dependent upon the team there at Tedco to help kind of guide me as to where we need to reinforce those, where we need to build new ones, and where we need to reset them. And so we'll do that analytics, and we'll think through that. But this is about relationships. I've had this at many of my stops, and understanding where relationships have not been done in the past. And I think you can get through tough times if you have the right set of relationships in place. Because look, at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. And so it's all about being more transparent and being able to say, hey, look, this is about to happen. It's not going the way we want it to go. And letting folks know about that before it happens. As far as the economic empowerment piece, the socioeconomic piece, I think that's also going to be part of the conversations as we kind of look to build on the transition that Linda has stressed to us. As we look at, and we talked to the team about that this morning, is how do we understand that there is an ROI that is both an economic ROI and a societal ROI? And I think having more clarity on that and getting, feedback from particularly the commerce, from our friends at Commerce and other agencies, and across the 60 plus counties that exist in Maryland, because each of them will have a different socioeconomic ROI. The ROI for Baltimore is going to look different than the socioeconomic ROI than Western Maryland. And we have to have an appreciation of that and understand what it is we're trying to get and what outcomes are necessary and how do you invest into that. But at the same time, invest in those things that can drive an economic ROI too.
And Morgan, I'll just add, because Troy wasn't obviously privy to the process we went through in the search, but to your question about building relationships with leadership in Annapolis, that really, we started that a while ago, and that was part of how we led the search. So we had our, we partnered with Korn Ferry on this search and conducted a number of stakeholder interviews and got feedback and input from leadership in Annapolis, as well as entrepreneurs and investors and sort of all the stakeholders, to really inform what we were looking for in a leader, and have been very appreciative of the strong support that we've felt from those stakeholders, particularly the folks in Annapolis. So we're very grateful for that.
Did that answer your question, Morgan?
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Oh, Stephen again. Sorry, I'll go again. So yeah, with we know that Tedco is involved in, of course, a lot of investment activity, but then there's also the mission behind it of economic development. So so can you talk a little bit about kind of the balance between those two? The idea of kind of creating companies and maybe even talking about returns in some cases, but then also that economic development that's specifically about creating jobs and growth here that's particular to the state.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Stephen. So, I think one of the first things we've got to do, Stephen, is, COVID and the social unrest has created a new norm. It's creating, let me say it's creating. I don't think the normal has been created yet. And so what that ROI is, what our investment thesis needs to be is evolving. We talked about, again, that this morning also with the team. So I don't pretend that I have an answer yet, because this thing is still playing out, right? We're still right smack in the middle of the pandemic. We're still right smack in the middle of whether we're going to shut down again. We're still having a mass debate. And so it's difficult to then understand what an economic foundations are, because, economies are built on stability and knowns. And that's why stock markets can exist. That's why people can, do projections and do quarterly projections, because they're used to, there's a rhythm to the business. There's a thing that I can be predictive about. There's nothing predictive about what we're into right now. And so I would be remiss to try to sit here and tell you that I know, because I don't, and I don't think anybody does. But I think we're going to get the best minds around this, both those that are in the state and those that are outside the state, to help us begin to think about what some of those emerging things could be that we could begin to invest in, look at our portfolio firms and find ways to help them adjust to these emerging normals, and then find a way to understand what that both economic and societal returns need to look like as we begin to learn more about what a post-COVID world is going to look like for Maryland and beyond. That answer your question, Stephen?
Yeah, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll give 60 more seconds. Any other reporters have questions? Okay, Stephen. Technically, Baltimore has another question. One moment.
That's Stephen.
Never, just give me a minute. I'll tend to fill that with a question. Just broadly, knowing that stem cell and MII are a big part of Tedco as well. Have any initial thoughts from you about kind of the more of the commercialization side of things, working with kind of the state institutions, and what's your approach there?
No, again, haven't officially started yet, so no, and I haven't had a chance to even meet friends at the stem cell or MII. But I'm looking forward to that. As you noted earlier, I come from a higher ed space, so I think that's going to be a great connectivity point there. I've been involved with commercialization efforts over the years, so I look forward to seeing how they're thinking about it and looking at a new way. But I think, I'm just repeating myself somewhat, Stephen, is that what has been may not work in the future. And so I think we're all trying to make decisions and do things based off of the way we did things. As I was telling the team earlier today, I'm old enough to remember that you could show up at the airport, 5 minutes before your flight, you can walk into the plane. But 9/11 happened, and now our normal is defined as we have to go through TSA. TSA is now part of our lexicon. And so I think we have to understand that there's a whole new lexicon that's going to be developed out of this. There's a whole new set of processes that are going to be kind of this. I'm going to be really interested to see who Time selects as the person of the year, or what's going to be the word of the year. I didn't know the word contact tracing even existed before 3 months ago. And so we've got a whole set of words and things that are emerging. And so my job right now is to come in to understand, learn, hear what folks have to say, but context all of that with the background that we have right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, Myra, it looks like that's the last question. Oh, wait, Stephen technically has one more.
Sorry, just one more on the process. Is this kind of an appointment that has to get approved, or just noting the start dates later? So is there something that has to happen in between?
Myra, you want to take that one?
September 7th.
No, nothing has to happen, but Troy had a day job and needs to wind that down.
Yeah.
So that's all that is. It's just he because of the kind of person he is, he didn't want to leave UDC in the lurch, and so he's going to be winding and transitioning things there. That's the only reason for that.
Exactly correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I couldn't remember if there was if there was like an approval, but thank you. Okay, great.
Yes. No, there's not a formal approval, but as I mentioned earlier, we involved leadership in Annapolis in the process. So we're glad to have their support.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Last one. That's my last one, I swear.
You sure? You sure?
Yeah.
Sound like Stephen, you and I'll be talking quite a bit. That's all good.
Yeah.
Great. Well, if there are no more questions, we again thank you all very much for your time. And Troy, welcome. Thank you for being here today. Secretary Schultz, thank you. And General Linda Singh, thank you. All right, and we'll be talking to you soon, I'm sure.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Be safe and sane.